Welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast, a podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine. I'm Kate Lavin, and I'm joined by Editor-in-Chief Denise Greer. Hello, Denise.
Hello, Kate. Boy, we are in the home stretch, getting ready for Pizza Expo Columbus.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I know, right? But before we get to Columbus, we've got the Pizzeria Operator Survey, the All Operator Survey, and we encourage everyone to complete it so that we can get a real gauge of what's happening in pizzerias. Helps drive our content. It helps with our industry report that we produce that comes out in December, and we use it just for random story ideas too, because a lot of people provide some really great nuggets of knowledge. So we can't wait to hear from you. So you look for that in your inbox sometime later this month.
Fantastic. And that's going to be mid-August. Is that right?
Yes, mid-August.
Okay.
Yes,
Perfect.
Mid-August. Look for that in your mailbox. And of course, we'll remind you on social media. It's going to be all over the website. So, and it's in the August issue of Pizza Today. So there you go. There's a little QR code that'll take you to it. Anywho, so today's guest, hey, since we're leading up to Pizza Expo Columbus, our guest happens to be doing a workshop at Pizza Expo Columbus. We have Michael Androw from E&D Pizza there in Connecticut, and he is doing a seminar called You Want to Open a Pizza Restaurant, and he likes to do the slanted faced look at the camera like so yeah, because a lot of people think like, oh my goodness, you want to open a pizzeria? And if you've opened a pizzeria, how challenging opening a restaurant is, and even how more challenging it is to stay open and continue to grow. And it's a tough business to be in, but it's also one of the most rewarding businesses.
Yeah, I really loved that he ended up talking about making great pizza is not enough. There's a lot more to the business side, and sometimes that means asking for help with things that you're not that great at, delegating, even when that is challenging. Just a lot of real nitty-gritty behind the scenes things that people might not be thinking about if so far it's all about, well, I make great pizza, so I'm going to open a pizzeria.
Yeah, and I just love that he gets so real about his experiences and, in those times when, he was really unsure at the beginning. I mean, he talked about having a $75 day, a $75 sales day, and you'll hear him talk about, what happened with that. But it's, being able to follow your path even when it's tough, or even when you're a little unsure of where it's going, to just know that if I just follow the course, create what I'm going to create, that it's going to turn out in the end. And so he offers some great advice.
Yeah, it was a great chat. Shall we listen in?
Let's go.
Are you looking for smarter ways to improve consistency, efficiency, and bake quality in your pizza operation? Spokane Valley, Washington-based Lloyd Pans is the trusted name for commercial pizzerias and home chefs alike. For over 40 years, Lloyd Pans has been creating innovative pizza pans and tools designed to deliver perfect results every time. Whether it's crispy, golden pizza crusts or perfectly baked pastries, Lloyd Pans' durable, stick-resistant, and proprietary pan finishes are a game changer. Going beyond pizza? Visit lloydpans.com to explore our lineup of food service and bakeware pans and accessories. Need shipping quotes or custom products? Email sales@lloydpans.com for personalized service. Great pizza starts with flavorful tomatoes you can count on. For more than 80 years, pizza makers have trusted Stanislaus Food Products to deliver superior tomato products and pizza sauces with the dependable quality and consistency they need, can after can. Whether you're perfecting a signature recipe or serving a busy Friday night crowd, Stanislaus tomatoes help make preparation easier and deliver the vibrant, vine-ripened tomato flavor your guests love. Because when your ingredients perform consistently, you can spend less time worrying about the sauce and more time creating memorable meals that keep customers coming back. Learn more about Stanislaus and their products at www.stanislaus.com or follow them for updates on Instagram and Facebook.
All right. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming onto the show today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I was just saying before we got on the show, wow, time flies. I feel like I just saw you at Pizza Expo. Where have the months gone?
I know they sure do fly by, don't they?
Absolutely. All right. So catch us up. What's been happening with E&D?
We are constantly pushing to get bigger and better every day.
Yeah.
You can never rest on your laurels. What do they say? You never want to breed complacency. You can
Yeah.
never settle for mediocrity.
What do
So
you got going right now? What are you putting forth?
Well, right now we got a lot of different little things going on right now. We had a situation back at Thanksgiving where someone had a medical incident on the road and drove through the side of our building. So there's been a lot of hassle with insurance companies and contractors, and we finally got all that done and back together. So things are looking great. So we're happy to be back into a real restaurant that's not a construction zone anymore. So
Oh, what a relief.
yeah,
Oh
so we're
my
happy about that.
goodness.
We're playing with some LTOs on our menu. This is an exciting time of year for us because we partner with a farm right down the road from us. And once you hit this part of the year, we get some of the most beautiful produce. Um, that's really fun to start playing with some of that different things, and just even the items you use every day. It's so much different when you get it from a local farm as opposed to your purveyors. And it's just, we love it. Great times, great time of year.
So,
Very
quick question: what did it take to come back from that person coming into your building? What was the process there?
Uh, Interesting question, and we did not rehearse this or go over this. I'm really glad you asked that because there's a part of that really sticks with me, and I teach this to my sons, and I teach this to every young person or new entrepreneur I deal with. I stress to everyone the value of friendships and relationships, even with people that you don't think you're ever going to need something from. Everything in life does not have to be a transactional relationship. Just be a good person, because when this happened, we had a car drive through. Obviously, you get, firemen, paramedics, everyone gets everything all straightened out. Building inspector, first person that shows up. A building inspector, if you've never dealt with one, can be your worst enemy in the world. He could have shut me down if he wanted to for a year or 2, 10 years. Who knows? They do whatever they want. He said, I see what's happened. I see you've already got the construction guys here patching things up. I know you. I trust you. I know you're going to do the right thing. Don't worry about us. We're all set.
Wow.
5 minutes later, health inspector walks in. Same thing. Okay, I can see what areas were affected. I see you're already addressing it and you're on it. I don't need to sit here and break your whole place apart and do a full inspection and shut you down and this and that. We have a relationship. I know you do what's right. I trust you. I know you've got this under control. Go. We're not going to hold you up. So I was literally back open the next morning. And if it wasn't for those good relationships, that didn't have to be the way it was. And, I can't stress that enough to people. Sometimes people get under your skin and you want to really read them the riot act. Don't. Be a good person. You never know when you're going to need it.
Wow.
Absolutely,
That's amazing.
man. That's crazy. And you always give such good advice. Yeah, you're a man of knowledge. And so we tapped you for some fun at Pizza Expo Columbus. You want to talk
Yeah.
about what you're going to be doing with your workshop?
Oh, I love this workshop. And as you know, this is not the first time I've done this one. It really hits home because when we talk about, like we're talking about, just being good people and caring about people, this session means a lot to me, and it's called "You Want to Open a Pizza Restaurant?" And I do that face when I do that, quizzical. Why would you do this? But we hear the term life-changing thrown around, just recklessly. I really believe this can be life-changing. This one workshop for someone who's new getting into this end of the business. And the reason I say that is because if you're someone who's always liked pizza and want to get into it, or if you're someone who's, put your time in working for someone and you've always wanted to do something on your own and you're ready to take that next step and dive into the deep end, be careful. Be careful, because even though you can swim, that end's really deep and deeper than you think sometimes. And, anyone that walks through a restaurant supply store will see a gigantic section of used equipment. That's not because people just got tired of their old stuff and traded it in for new stuff. This ain't cars. Those are people that went out of business.
Mm.
And unfortunately, it happens in our business and especially in our segment all too often. And I firmly believe that 99% of that is avoidable. People have great hearts. People really do. People have the greatest intentions. They make beautiful pizza. They're not someone just getting into this as a hobby. These people that are doing this, they put their time in. They've worked other places. They've done things. They say, okay, now's the time. I'm going to do it on my own. And that's great. But it takes more than just a good intentioned heart to succeed at it. I talk to so many people and I say, I know you make great pizza. That's not even a question. You wouldn't be here educating yourself for more if you were a shoemaker. You make great pizza. I know that. But can you run a great business? Do you even know what it takes? Have you ever been introduced to that end of it? And so many people haven't. And they have a basic understanding. I'm not saying these people are, are knuckleheads. They know, but there's so much more to it. And if you can learn from someone who's been there and done it, they always say a smart person learns from their mistakes, but a smarter person learns from the mistakes of others. There's no better time to apply that than when you're signing on the dotted line. Because I say life-changing, because when you sign on the dotted line, now you've put so much at risk. Your name's on a commercial lease that can bury you. Your name's on a loan that doesn't magically go away. There's so many things that if things go south, this can affect your life. This can affect your home. You could lose your home. This can affect relationships, children, families. There's a lot at stake here. So, spending a few hours in a workshop with me to help you avoid these potentially huge pitfalls can be life-changing. So I can't stress enough, for all the things people do to put into a new business, take a few hours out of your time at Columbus, sit down, let's go over this. And everyone that's ever come to one of my workshops or seminars knows I spend, and then Denise, because you've yelled at me about, you want me to attend the next thing and I never make it. I spend hours with people after these seminars and these workshops. We'll talk about your situation. I'm not looking for anything from you. You don't owe me anything. I want to see people succeed. I love our business. I love the people that are passionate about what we do. You can succeed. You just need the help. So it's a really, really great workshop. When I say soup to nuts, I really mean it. We go over everything. It's not just how do I sign a lease. It's how do you know what to put in a lease? What should be in a lease? Who do I have help me with that? How do I pick a site? Are all sites the same? If it looks good to me, is it really good? How do you figure these things out? And how about the money? I got a few bucks saved, but how do I get a loan? Where do I get the money from? What's good money? What's bad money? How do I hire people? How do I market in the beginning? I can't just turn the lights on and unlock the door. What do I do? And so many people, like I said, they rest on their laurels of I make great pizza. And if you don't do all these other parts right, the next thing you know, the bank's knocking on your door. And we want to avoid that. And we can avoid that. So I get really excited because I know that when and I talk to people, months, years later that say, what, I'm glad I talked to you about this, or I'm glad I talked to you about that because I wouldn't have known this, or I would have been screwed if I hadn't done that right. And so there's a great feeling in that to know you're helping people and you're helping progress the industry in the right way. And, let those restaurant supply companies sell new stuff.
That's great. There are so many different aspects that you just mentioned, things that go in on the front end of opening a pizzeria. Are there any things that you think are smart to outsource, things that maybe aren't going to cost a pizzeria owner that much money, but are going to take a ton of time if you are not an expert?
Yes. There are some things I would say automatically outsource. Some other things are going to depend upon your specific makeup, how much time you have, what your hours of operation are. Are you 7 days a week? Are you 5, 6? Obviously, unless you're an accountant getting into pizza, pay someone to do that. Don't, you're going to work enough hours in the beginning where you do not need to have one eye open, trying to not fall asleep and working with numbers with your business. Let someone that's professional do that. Build that into your, that's a cost you need to absorb and you need to pay. You can't afford to get that wrong. Um, not to mention, especially with the ever-changing tax codes, there's so much that you don't know and you can't keep up with it. And even with all these years doing it, I still even found out this year things changed again. And thank God for my accountant, because had I tried to do it on my own, I would have been up the creek without a paddle. So there's a lot of value in that. I talk to people about payroll too. If you're 7 days a week, maybe consider having someone else, maybe outsource that. It's not that difficult, but there's so many programs now that make it so easy. And again, between changing tax codes and with withholdings for different people, when you're on no sleep and you've just finished a 14-hour shift at the restaurant and you're coming home and you're trying to bang out payroll before you go get your 4 hours of sleep, that's not always accurate. And so pick your battles. I tell people, pick your battles. There's not enough money to go around and outsource everything. But it's more than just those clerical things too. You'll find, we talk about when people open places, how much workable space do you have? How much volume are you doing right away? You have to be realistic. Sometimes you've got to know when to let other people do things for you. And you both well know, and I'm sure many of our listeners do too, you can outsource all kinds of things, from food production to clerical office work, all kinds of things. So, outside of the basics, a lot of it goes on a case by case basis, but it's something that you can't be afraid to do, because even now with my situation, there's still things I outsource. I know that I'm not the best at everything, and I let those people, do their job and handle it.
What are some things that inside your pizzeria you give some of your employees free reign to, I'd like you to take this over?
It's what for me that yeah, for me with my personality, that was hard. That was hard when I was younger. It took me a lot of time. It took me a lot of time to be able to do that. We teach delegate, delegate, delegate. Um, but in the beginning, there's no delegation. When you're opening a new business from
Yeah.
scratch, there's no money to pay all these people to delegate to. So you delegate to yourself. And once you become comfortable with that, whether you're a perfectionist or not, you get used to it. And the idea of letting someone else take the reins and control something that you worked so hard to perfect can be difficult. But I'm very lucky. I have a great general manager. At one point, he's been with me many years. And many years ago, I'll never forget, he pulled me aside and he said, "Look, I need you to get out of here." And I was,
Nice.
"Are you kidding me? How could you possibly?" And he says, "Because everyone slows down when you're here."
Yeah.
Oh,
And he goes,
Yeah.
"And we're way too busy." And he goes, he goes, "I have my numbers that I have to work within." And he goes, "So
Mhm.
you're killing my labor." He goes, "So if you're here, you point out which person you want me to send home, and you explain to them that you're cutting their hours." And I just kind of went, "Fine." It's not easy. It's not easy, but you have to learn over time to be able to delegate to your employees and let them have some freedom. We talk about, I think you were kind of getting in terms of more like menu stuff. Um, we're very, very strict about how we have recipes and they are to be followed to a T. We want consistency, consistency, consistency with our customers. But there are things like every week, we do slices during the day. And so I leave it up to the guys. Let's talk about this. What do you want? Let's do something fun. Let's do something different. Let's do something that's off the menu. Let's bring in a product if we want to and play with something and do it and try. And so we have input from everybody, not just the guys in the kitchen, but also, sometimes the younger staff working up front on the counter. Hey, what would be great? Sure, let's hear it. So we have fun with some of those things, but at the same time, there are some hard and fast guidelines and boundaries when it comes to recipes that there needs to be consistency, and there is no gray area with that.
Oh yeah. It's something I'm really curious about is, we learn so much more through our failures, right?
Right.
Was there a time where you were either like, I gotta pack it up or I've got to overhaul things? And when did those moments happen? And how did you take action?
So I'm I'm lucky. I
Mhm.
was sort of raised in this business. I had some great restaurateurs when I was younger that took me under their wing. For whatever reason, I don't know what they saw in me, but to this day, I'm tremendously grateful because it gave me the opportunity to learn what was wrong and not make those mistakes on my own. So that's not to say that I was guaranteed to succeed. I
Mhm.
also knew when the time came to start doing things on my own, I knew what was right. I knew the pitfalls. I knew the things that would sink me.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't change the human element of it. There's times when you question yourself, and part of getting into this and being successful is a sacrifice. It's a tremendous human sacrifice that you have to make because we talk about, like I was saying, we're talking about outsourcing certain things. In the beginning
Mhm.
days when you open a place, you're growing a business. And growing a business is a nice way of saying we have no money in the beginning. And that's difficult and that can take a toll on you. You learn that you really need to be committed to not letting it fail. And everyone says they can do it. I can work 7 days a week. Yeah, do it for 2 weeks, then tell me how it is. You
Yeah.
know, I did it for 2 years. I did it for 2 years. The first 2 years when I opened this concept, and God bless my wife, our children were babies, newborn. And she said, go now. I know what you have to do. Go now. I've got things under control here at home. They're never going to remember. They're never going to remember you weren't here. And, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I remember there was some nights that I felt I was failing. And I knew I wasn't inside, but the human element comes out too, and you're still
Mhm.
emotional and you're tired. I remember I would come home and I would lay down with my oldest son. I would lay in his bed next to him when he was sleeping and I would cry my eyes out. I would cry my eyes out thinking, what have I done? What have I done? And I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was
Yeah.
doing. You just had to be committed. You got to build it. You don't build a business in a day. And
Yeah.
when you do build it, you get to that point where you have enough sales, where you have enough money, you can afford to bring people in, you can get help. But there are going to be times when you will think, oh God, what's going on? And you just need to remember that, as long as you're doing things right, as long as you're working in the right direction, it will continue to grow. But it's not overnight and it is not easy.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
still maintain that restaurant owners are it's one of the hardest jobs in America. It's just just the countless hours and it's just it you guys are amazing.
Well, thank you. But I think that's probably your point is probably why we see such a high failure rate, because when people hit that
Mhm.
zone where you really need to buckle down and be the one guy who's there,
Mhm.
it's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's a change of life. You're not used to that.
for sure.
But sometimes when you have that theoretical gun to your head with, the bank, the lease, the family, it's do or
Yeah.
die, and you don't want to die. But some people throw in the towel failure rate. But if you're really committed to it and you will do it, and you prepare yourself and you come to a workshop like this and you get the tools that you need to succeed, yeah, it can be done. There is a light at the end of that tunnel. And it can be a complete 180 from where your life started. And can give you the resources, the time, the ability to enjoy things, but it's not an overnight process. When I think, unfortunately, in the restaurant and the pizza business, people think it is sometimes. They get kind of sold on that romance factor of, oh, it's going to be a beautiful restaurant. I'm going to entertain friends and family. Yeah, sure. But there's a down and dirty side that you got to make it through first before you get there.
you mentioned that you were fortunate enough to have some great mentors, and they let you know about different stumbling blocks that you were able to avoid.
Yes.
What are some of those things that you see trip up a lot of other operators?
Uh, pride. Pride's the biggest one.
Oh,
Pride's the biggest one. You have to be selfless. Everybody always makes that joke. What's your job? Oh, chief cook and bottle washer. Guess what? You really are. You really are, especially in the early days. And you've got to put your pride aside and know that there's no job too big or too small. Your staff, especially when you're stressed, your staff is watching you. Your staff's going to respond, and you're going to create that culture, good or bad, depending upon how you react to the negative times. And in the early days of a business, there can be a lot of challenges and a lot of negative times. And we're all human, and it's hard to keep a positive attitude, but you got to be focused on doing that. It's like I said, people are watching you, people see. Um, but there's going to be challenges, and like I said, I was very lucky to have great mentorship that showed me people that succeeded, that showed me people that failed, that had me watch people and say, look at the good aspects. Watch the, I had one of my biggest mentors. Once a week, we would go out to dinner, and it wasn't to dine and talk. He wanted me to watch. He wanted me to watch one manager at this restaurant we always went to. He said, I want you to watch him. I want you to watch what he does, because if you can be like that, you will succeed in managing a restaurant. And he was right. And I still know that manager to this day, and he's tremendous. But he's like, pattern yourself after that. Don't go by the corporate teachings, this and that. He goes, that's a people person. Watch what he does. Watch how he interacts. Watch his gestures. Watch his demeanor. Watch his voice inflection. Watch everything. And we would go week after week. And I'm like, why are we going to watch this guy again? And I look back now and I'm like, my God, what a tremendous value. There's a lot to be learned out there from others.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
I do too. I think about, everyone that stands up and speaks at Pizza Expo, people kind of forget that they had that beginning story. People kind of look at them and like, oh, well, this is a really successful person. This is, this is what I should be in the industry. And they forget that you guys started, at the place you did, that the first few years were rough, that I think I had a long conversation with Tony Gimignani about that, because people forget that he was down in the trenches too when he first started, and people tend to forget that in the when they see you guys standing up on those stages. Do you share that story with your audience about starting?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, part of what we have to learn on the fly is politicking people sometimes. And it's more specifically staff. And it's hard because I remember it was a Tuesday night in February, and we were open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we did $75 in sales for the day.
Ouch.
And that's a lot of time. That's a lot of hours to kill with a staff standing there wondering, how are we getting paid? That's a lot of time to politic people on, it's going to get better. You need to come to work tomorrow, please. I promise you there'll be money. These things are real. These things happen, and you have to be there. There's no easy magical answer for things like that, but that's part of the things you learn, I think back now and I'm like, my God, I would never want to do that again. I would never want to do that again. I remember that day. I'll never forget that day. And it was horrible. I mean, $75 over the course of an entire, what is that, 10-hour day of being open. And you're in the back of your mind the entire time, you're thinking about the time clock running and what's my labor cost now and how much is this costing me, and I haven't brought anybody in. I've got these ovens running and I've got the HVAC, and I'm like, oh my God, you got to just try to tune it out and just focus on your goal and make it through. But these are the things that people don't see until they experience them on their own. And we do definitely talk about these things. And, like you said, it's not all magical for everybody from day one. Is there success out there? Yeah. Is it easy to achieve? No. Is it possible? 100%. 100%. If you have the right mindset and you're willing to do it right, and you have the right training going in and the tools, yeah, you will succeed. You 100% will succeed.
Absolutely. The last question I'll ask you is just a fun one. What are you looking forward to in Columbus? Because I love when we go to Columbus, because it's just a fun town. It's a fun time with the industry. What are you most looking forward to?
Columbus is fantastic. And I know if you've never been to Columbus and you're watching this, you must think he's crazy. But
I know,
you
right?
two have been there. You can corroborate this. Columbus has its own restaurant scene. Columbus, Ohio. I remember the first time I was there for whatever it used to be, the pizza and ice cream show, North American Pizza Ice, NAPCS, whatever it was, many years ago. And I was shocked. And then when we moved away from AC and brought this show to Columbus, I was so excited. I was telling people, I'm like, you don't understand. Columbus it's like a mini Manhattan. There's so many different types of cuisine and restaurants, and people are like, it's Columbus, Ohio. I'm like, I know. Trust me, when you see it, you're going to be blown away. It's amazing. So yeah, I love Columbus. I can't wait. You spend a lot of time and a lot of work goes into these shows. So when the day is over, it's nice to sit down and enjoy.
Yeah, it is. And I'm a beer geek, and there are a lot of breweries in Columbus, Ohio. So there you go.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing you, Mike.
I can't wait.
Can't wait. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you hopping on the show. And
So much.
I love the straight talk. This has been great.
Thanks so much. Great being here.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.